What if the life you're living right now, every challenge, every struggle, every limitation is just a fraction of what's truly possible for you? Welcome to the Unbound and Awakened podcast, where we break free from the stories that hold us back and step into this expansive potential of who we really are. I'm Poonam, your host, and I created this space for seekers, healers, and purpose driven leaders who know deep down there's more. There's more freedom, there's more clarity, more alignment waiting on the other side of transformation. Today, I have a guest who embodies this journey in every way. Meet Namratha. She is a futurist. She's an entrepreneur and a writer. She shapes human centric leadership in the age of AI, which honestly touches my heart deeply. And in just 2 years, she traveled 30 countries, built multiple purpose driven businesses, and now she is helping leaders scale with clarity. Now, there's three things you will want to know about her, okay? She believes travel transforms life, and I've seen that firsthand being her friend. She's also a master of scaling with clarity, and she knows the art to simplify things to make the big impact. Now, beyond her work, she's also a neurodiversity advocate through her platform, the Humanist Collective. And she was also recently a panelist at the World Economic Forum. So before we dive in, I want to share with you why I invited Namratha to this podcast. Now, as a friend, I've known her for at least 15 years. She's a visionary, she's a force of nature. I've watched her peel back layers of her journey, constantly evolving, constantly stepping into new realms of possibility. And what's always struck me about her is her ability to think beyond the box, no matter her circumstances. And she knows how to find joy in her journey. She's somebody who truly embodies what it means to be unbound and awakened, which is why I know that this conversation will leave you feeling inspired, expanded, and ready to break free from whatever that is holding you back. So, before we begin, I do want to take a moment to thank each of you for being here, for seeking your own transformation, and for co creating this space of healing and possibility. And also, I want to invite in the divine grace, and I want to say, may this conversation flow as it's meant to be, and may it reach to all those who need to hear it the most. So, with this, I want to kick it off. You tell me, Namrata, how did that go for you?
Thank you, Poonam, for having me here. I agree with everything, and thank you for that amazing introduction into what I do. It's been a journey, you know it. You've been with me. We have known each other for forever. Our kids have grown together, and I think both of us came to the point where our motherhood started defining us, and where we were pretty much we knew that it's going to be we have to change ourselves and we have to ground ourselves in order to be not only just amazing mothers and show our kids what's possible, but also um, do this for ourselves. Like when the kids, go to college, what do we have? We have our purpose. And I think that's where we both were very clear that something needs to change. And I think I started changing, and then you found your path. So it's been just so beautiful to see your journey as well. And I think this is a beautiful start.
I'm so happy to hear. So, let's segue. The best way I feel like we can peel layers for other people to listen to your story, because I honestly believe your story is amazing, and people need to hear this. So, let's take you back all the way to your childhood. I know you grew up in Bihar, which is a city in India. And how did that shape some of your worldview?
So Bihar is in eastern India, and I would like to take a little bit step back into what Bihar means to me. I used to run away from that identity for the longest time. And then recently I have really not only embraced it, I'm very proud of it. And there are reasons for it. Um, Bihar has a very, very long history. The history of India is so intricately connected to the history of Bihar, one of the biggest empires from India, the biggest Hindu empire from India was from Bihar. And I was born right at the center of that empire. I was born in Patliputra, which is now Patna. Um, and it changed the way, or it didn't change the way, I think it defined the way I look at the world. So I look at the world from a very grounded space already. We in Bihar have not really faced wars. We have not really faced famines. We have abundance. The fields are, always, they are the most fertile land in the world. The people are knowledgeable. The knowledge is in our DNA, the knowledge, not only the divine knowledge, but the universal laws. We are very spiritual. It is the birthplace of Guru Nanak. All of those kind of things has made it is in my DNA, it is in my blood. And now I have realized it. So I think that's what shaped my growing up. Everybody I met used to be so relaxed in life. People, were not, I mean, of course, there is the thing that Biharis went outside, did engineering and civil services and, medical in order to get better lives for themselves, because Bihar is rural. However, now I can see everything coming back, and we want to give back to the land. So that's what shaped me. And I think that's where my purpose also is, where I want to give back to the land where I come from. And I think we have a lot to share with the world.
You do. And there's a lot to unpack here, and there's so many different ways we can take this conversation forward. And it's beautiful when you come from such a strong upbringing, and those roots will always remain. And it's beautiful to watch how some of that has moved into your journey as a motherhood. So I want to, because that's like the pivotal moment in any woman's life, right? So there's a lot of crisis that we go through. We try to question a lot of our reality during that phase of our life. So share a little bit about some of that journey that you had being a mom.
Absolutely. So when I was growing up, I was the only child till about 11 years old. And then my, brother, was born. So I was 11 and I already kind of knew a little bit, right? So I was more aware, and I saw my mother, struggling with postpartum, and I saw her struggling with a lot of things. And, obviously the attention from me was taken away, which I 100% get it now that I am a mother, right? So and that is kind of what defined me growing up, is I always wanted to be a mother. Like, I did not care what I did in my career or what I did in my studies. I knew that I always wanted to be a mother. And I was very clear that I wanted to be a mother of two girls. I don't know where that came from. I still don't know, but I wanted to be a mother of two girls. And I am now. So, which is amazing. So when I became a mother, and when my firstborn was put in my hands, it was a difficult pregnancy. She was a big baby. I had no idea. I had no help. I was in the US. You know how American society is. It's very isolated. We haven't built a village or a community. And as an immigrant mom, it's even more difficult to find that village, to find that community, or build it from scratch. So I didn't have that. I only have me and my daughter. And at that point, I was pretty much, I think, in the haze of postpartum, I decided, first of all, I'm going to make myself stronger. I'm going to, make myself very independent. And I'm going to make myself a community. I'm going to build my community for my kid, and for even for myself. And that has sort of been the guiding light, that building the community, and everything around it has been around the independence and the community. And I'm happy to say it's there. Like, both my kids have a village to grow up in. They have, the right people to look up to, the right kind of activities. We are both dance moms, so we know that dance is a major community. There's sports, there's so much. So I'm very excited about the fact that community supported me when I needed it most. At some point, I built it and it supported me. And I feel going forward, that's where my purpose is, building those communities wherever I go.
Right. No, it's about building that safe spaces for people. And I think when we met, we were both at the same phase of our lives where we were trying to build something for our own kids. And both me and Namratha are girl moms. I have two girls myself. And a lot of your journey I was able to relate to because I'm also the older kid. I had the exact same, inhibitions that you did when I had a younger brother. Obviously, over the years, I understand some of the challenges that my own mom faced. And it's different. It's just that we're growing in a different world than our upbringing. But to create something that we haven't been exposed to, and somehow we figured out a way to do it. And this is a great forum to share that story with everyone. So, with this, Namratha, I want to move into this phase of your life where you started rebelling. I noticed you were doing a lot of solo travels, and I know that really shaped a lot of your leadership in terms of how you want to give back to the community. So if you want to walk us through what, beginnings of that, what made you go there and how did that shape some of the things for you?
What happened? So, so we used to travel, like you and me, we are in this travel friend group, right? And we have the spring break travel that we do a lot. Um, I had already become independent. I was successful in my career. I was in Deloitte for the longest time. And we were traveling quite a bit. But I felt this void where, yes, I'm traveling, yes, I'm doing all of these things. And I think that void exploded when COVID happened and when we were forced to stay at home. And my biggest fear that the time is running out and I haven't seen everything that I wanted to see or where my soul was calling me. There was this void and there was this pull that I couldn't deny, that there's something out there that I haven't seen. And if I don't see it now, there won't be time left. It was just this very weird feeling in me. And that is when I sought therapy. So it was the end of 2020 that I sought therapy. And I asked my therapist this very same question, that I feel that there's a void, there's something I need to do, and there's this impact I need to make. It's inside me. But everything, every structure in the society is stopping me from it. I feel it is not made for me to create that impact. So I feel I'll have to break it free. And that is where, you can call it the rebel phase, or you can call it like slowly peeling the layers of everything that society, the rigid capitalistic framework that we have. I sort of reshaped it to work for me. So, I had some savings. I took that and I traveled for 2 years. I started with Turkey, which was beautiful. Turkey was always somewhere I wanted to go because Turkey is known as the bridge between the Western thought and the Eastern thought. And I feel that was very symbolic of where I was going to be in my life. And it's so weird when I say that right now out loud. In the World Economic Forum, when I went there 2 weeks back, somebody actually told me that you can speak two languages, the language of the capitalism and the language of the spiritualism. It's almost like you're a bridge. And that is what happened everywhere I traveled after that. Some new part of me got unraveled and activated. And that is what shaped me today, where I am.
That's really nice to hear because that's exactly the part of you that I resonated the most as well because of the bridge that you're talking about, the Eastern and the Western influence. And it's rare to find someone who can put it all together in a way that's meaningful, not just for you, but as you're peeling away the journey, you took other people along with you in your journey because most of what you do is all on Facebook. And I know I've seen firsthand as a friend letters that people have shared with you how your journey has helped them bring together certain broken pieces of their own soul, which is, that's really good because not everybody wants to share their shame stories. Not everybody wants to be raw about some of the challenges that they experienced. And this is something that I really wanted to acknowledge about you, which I admire about you as well. And you touched on therapy, so I want to go there a little bit. Now, during therapy is when I think you realized some of the neurodiversity aspect of, your identity, right? So tell me, how has that shaped you, and how are you using that to basically move forward in a more empowering way rather than telling yourself that that's a limitation?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I have started saying is anything that frustrates you or anything that is a friction in your life eventually becomes your purpose if you really lean into it. And that is what has happened to me. So I during the therapy is when I figured out that I definitely have ADHD. ADHD is sometimes genetic, sometimes it's trauma informed. It basically changes the chemistry of your brain, your neural pathways, and the way you react. And what it affects is your executive function, where you can get things done. And it also affects your short-term and long-term memory. So you can only remember a few things, or you remember things from really back, which nobody does. So your brain works in many different ways, and it's a whole spectrum. And I didn't realize that, obviously, because while we were growing up in the 90s, we were all surviving. We were all like doing the next thing. We were all, oh, we have to do this. But there were checklists that you have to finish your 10th and then your 12th and then your college and then you must get a job. And nobody had the time to actually think about, okay, what is it? What are our different brain neurotypes? I call it different neurotypes, right? There's no neurotypical or neurodivergent. It's just everybody is a different brain. And we are also systemized. And I think that is where I felt like a failure, because if you're not aligning to the system that has been defined for everybody and your brain is different, you feel like, oh my God, am I failing? And that's the shame that I sort of addressed in therapy, that I have come so far, I've done every checklist that society told me to do, and I'm still not happy. And my brain is not happy. What does that mean? It still requires more. And that is when I understood that neurodiversity or neurospiciness or whatever we call it, a different neurotype, is how you feed your own brain for your own success, or for your own, not even success, for how you show up in the world in flow. There's no friction then. And that's what you start working towards. That will take you to your highest potential, always. And that became my purpose. So through the Humanists, I work with a lot of very big charities and very big organizations, including in World Economic Forum. That was the work that I did, was how do we make the world, our education and the work, our systems more adaptable to different brain types.
That's wonderful to hear. It's very refreshing as well. And the journey that you went through in terms of discovering who you are at your core, and also accepting who you are at the core, and figuring out a way to make it relatable, accessible, and helping people along the way. That's really inspiring. I want to again, acknowledge you for that. So I know for you, it's always constant learning because you never stop. You're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving. And despite of therapy, you also worked a little bit with me on the spiritual coaching piece of it. How did that sort of help you in your growth journey?
That's an amazing question, and that's really the question that I think sort of brings everything together, right? So therapy took me to a certain place. It took me, it basically defined the neural pathways for me through the CBT, the conversation-based therapy. It basically house kept my mind. So now I can think in certain streamlined ways. It's easier to get work done. I do not procrastinate. Those were all great. But I did tell you that ADHD is two things. It's genetic as well as trauma informed. So the genetic part of it I had taken care of through therapy. Therapy took care of what was, the neural pathways. But there were still certain things that were holding me back from my actual potential. And that is where I remember asking this question, there's this gap, the spiritual gap that therapy can't fill. And I feel that some of my trauma is very, DNA coded, that needs to be, sort of brought out. I can't bring it out because therapy doesn't go that deep. It really doesn't. It really doesn't put you in, any kind of like a theta state or a, hypnotic state, and nothing really comes out. You are basically just dealing with the surface at that point. And that is when it just happened at that time that you were also starting, the E4 framework. And you said, hey, Namratha, let's work on it. Let's see if it works. Well, apparently it did. It worked beautifully, right? So during the 12 weeks, I think it was very, unraveling one layer after the other. And I think that's what I suggest most people to do. They can either do the spiritual part first and therapy later, but both of them have to go together. Or somebody has to build a practice, which is the Western therapy plus the spiritual side of it, because that's the only way to take care of the whole mind and, get your trauma out from your DNA and face it and be done with it and then move on.
And I just want to give a little bit of context here because I want to make sure people understand where this is coming from. So I'm a trauma-informed coach, as well as Namratha touched on. Part of what I do with people, and Namratha did a really good job during these sessions, because there's a lot of courage that needs to be taken on your part to visit certain stories and certain pain in your life. Because what we end up doing is we repress that emotion, and that repression is what gets stuck in your energy field, and that's showing up in terms of blocks. And those were the blocks that we tried to release during our sessions together. And I know it wasn't easy, so I want to honor you for going there, because you know that this work is not just going to help you, it's also going to help the other people that you're going to touch in different aspects of your life, because you truly do speak to a lot of people on a daily basis as humans. So this is a work that you do for yourself. It's the greatest act of self-love, is the way I look at it, and which is inspiring again, Namratha. So I want to go a little bit, again, I'm going to do a segue here, moving into a little bit on, you touched this on the World Economic Forum, you touched that earlier. I want to know a little bit more about how did some of the things that you learned during your visit there. What are some of the things you learned there, and especially because you're meeting all these change makers, world leaders. What are some of the things that you think? You just give us a quick highlight on maybe something that people can take away from that.
Absolutely. So I didn't go prepared. When I say I didn't go prepared, it means that it was very clear that I'm going with the flow. And I was very clear I didn't want to do any preparation, because the preparation was inside me. I was representing the humanists, I was representing the Octopus movement, which is another community for non-linear thinkers. And those were the meetings I was a part of. It was a Neurodiversity at Davos summit that I was going for. It was based on all the work, all the writings that I've done, and I was invited to be there. So I had no idea what Davos is, or what World Economic Forum looks like, or how intense it can be. It is a very intense experience. For 1 week, we have politicians, change makers, private, public, everything just coming together. There's a lot of spotlight, there's a lot of media presence, and everybody is trying to either network or change the world or have those conversations. This time, as we all know, the conversation was AI. What is AI going to do? How are humans going to work with AI? Will it take our jobs away? What are the leaders going to do about AI? What are the governments going to do about AI? What is the media going to do about all the disinformation, misinformation, all of those things? And I found myself right in the middle of it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to just go with the flow and let the conversations come to me, rather than initiate those conversations on a certain, like I must meet these 5 people, because that probably wouldn't give me everything that I need. And what I realized was, there are people who are awake. There are people who understand that there's more to human consciousness, especially in the age of AI, when AI does everything. So all of these years, we have been told that being a machine is the way to success. And now the machines are here. So if the machines are here and they are doing everything that you have been taught you can do, then what are you doing as a human, right? And this is where we saw the convergence of creativity, of spirituality, of human consciousness being front and center in conversations, in corporate conversations. We were talking about actual human consciousness with CEOs, with media personalities, and this came up, and I thought this was the best place where me as the humanists, representing the Humanists Collective of all the human-centric leaders, speaking for the humans, that's what I saw. And I think there is a lot of chaos in the world right now, but we come from a very ancient system. And we know that chaos is when the one era or eon changes into the other eon. It's always, chaos is always, it's called manthan in the Indian pantheon. It's manthan, and manthan is what is called the chaos, which is when the amrit or the mana for humanity comes through. That's what the gods basically bring forth. And I feel that's exactly what is going to happen. There will be war, there will be disease, there will be a lot of chaos. But World Economic Forum basically told me that there is hope, and there's beautiful hope. There is hope for humanity. We will not only go through this, but we will also come together as one. What we are seeing is that our divisions will be done with. We will all move as one. It will take time, but I have hope. And I was very grateful that I had that opportunity.
It's really good to hear the aspect of oneness, because I do agree there's a lot of division in mind. There are too many walls, too many borders, too many my way is better than your way going on in the world out there. And it's nice to hear that all the leaders are getting together with that oneness in mind to move us forward as humanity, because there is a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiousness. Nobody knows what the chaos is going to turn into. And that's where we tend to come from a place of fear rather than from a place of love or calm or acceptance. So that's kind of the shift that it helps people to move towards, especially some of the things that you're sharing right now. So that's good. And I also want to touch a little bit about your humanist. That's a beautiful platform that you've built. Walk us through the birthing of the humanist, what it means, and how can people, leverage that, and what's that vision you have for that platform?
Absolutely. So I know we talk about a little bit of woo-woo stuff, but this is a little bit woo-woo, where the first thing is your thoughts create your reality. And for the longest time, many people let thoughts come to them. Not let people influence the thought or let the media influence the thought. It's when you meditate is when your own thoughts come forth, right? The conscious thought come forth. And in one of those meditation sessions about 1 year back is when the word humanist kept coming to me. And I didn't know where it was going, because I had no idea what am I doing with it. I write very well, but other than that, I really didn't know, like, how am I going to shape my writing into an impact platform? And eventually that just focusing on that word and what came with it, which is human centricity in all our systems, bringing the soul to the machine, is where I realized is my purpose. And pre-humanist, I was a techie. And before I was a techie, I was in consulting. I was in Wall Street. I have seen the whole capitalist structure, exactly how it operates. And I know that my platform is meant to bring the soul into the machine. And that's my mission, essentially, to humanize systems so that it works for everybody, not just a few. And nobody falls through the cracks. It's abundance for all. And we have now started working with nations, we work with governments, we work with, public-private partnerships, bringing abundance to all, setting up systems, new systems, which are very human-centric. And that's the work that I do. It's very purpose-driven. I'm not saying I don't want to make profit. Of course, I want to make profit. But it also changes the world while I make that profit. So I hope it, gets there.
Yes, it will. And I almost have a slight tear in my eye as you say that, because, it's almost like you're allowing the divine will to flow through you when you work on projects like that. And how are you attracting that? Because you're taking the time to take a step back and remove all the noise around you and allow the right, channel to flow through you. And it's almost like you're the vessel as a force for the good that they call it, right? Because as humans, when we go on the dark side, we tip into greed, we tip into power, we tip into isolation, and some of that needs to be balanced with, good leaders like yourself, and taking it upon yourself, although you're a mom, although you're a wife, although you have your own day-to-day responsibilities, you're still taking that effort and listening to that divine consciousness, and taking that step in faith and not questioning it. I mean, that's incredible. And I, again, this is another thing that I wanted to share, that's the reason for the tear, as you say that. I also want to touch a little bit about the writing community, the writing circle that you're doing, because you're very creative, and writing doesn't come naturally to everyone. So tell me, how do you support some of these? I know many people have reached out to you, and you do certain workshops with them, and what does how is that helping? How do you do that whole thing with the writing circle? Tell me a little bit about, or
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about that.
So writing comes naturally to me. So I feel every human, not I feel, we know that every human has a gift, and every human has an art. The gift is the art, and it's their duty to bring out that art. It could be anything. It could be conversation. It could be writing. It could be painting, dancing, and you build communities around that art. And I eventually realized that my writing, it was very raw initially because I was purging a lot of my own layers of emotions. But once I had purged, it became very focused. My writing started having an actual impact. And that is when people started asking me, okay, how do we do this impactful writing? And my only tip is you have to know yourself. The day you know yourself, it will flow. If you write about whatever your art is, it will automatically flow. It has to be in flow. You cannot systemize writing. You cannot systemize art. It has to flow. And if it doesn't flow, stop, take a step back, meditate, it will come to you. But when you write from the heart, it touches hearts. And I have seen it firsthand last 2 years. It has brought me here. Everything that is happening to me right now, or that we are building, is because I wrote from the heart. So, in flow, 100%. And I think this is something we will touch on. Probably you also wanted to touch on, was the quantum shift. The quantum shift is in physics, they say and the great movie to understand this concept is Interstellar, where time and space bends like a pipe. And, what happens is when you are in flow and when you are in your zone of genius, which is your art, time and space actually bends. And I wouldn't have been at World Economic Forum if I had continued doing what I was doing earlier. I was a product manager in Deloitte. If I would have continued that path, there was no way I would have been impacting millions and millions of people as I do right now through talking to people. It bended, that quantum shift happened when I leaned into my art, went into flow, and that flow took me here at a speed that it is sometimes blinding. When I myself look back, I'm like, how did this happen? In just 2 years, I was here and now I'm here. What kind of time space bending happened? This is what happens. You just get so focused on your flow and your art, it will just flow. Your writing will flow, your music will flow, your purpose will flow. You just need to have established that connection. That's it.
Yeah, no, as you say that, you actually answered my second question, which was going to be, how do you what does creativity mean to you? And that's beautiful to hear the way you put it in context of quantum leaps, when you express yourself, because self-expression is shunned in certain communities. Not every community gives you that safe space to express yourself. And art is always put on the side because the 3D world kicks in, that art doesn't really make you money. So why waste your time exploring that? But this is a beautiful way of sharing with everyone how it helps you in your own journey of self development, your own personal growth, and how your thoughts are shaped as well. And that's where the focus should be, not so much about a money making
Mhm.
thing where, okay, no, let's go learn some coding because that's where the jobs are. I think that's the shift where creativity is something that's always sacred. And I like the fact that your human-centric platform is allowing for conversations like this to stay
Yes.
alive. And no, I'm really excited about all the new possibilities that's going to come up
We
for
call it the
you.
conscious capitalism, and we call it, we don't chase the money, we chase the art, we chase the flow, and the money is an energy that automatically finds you. So that's what I really believe in, and I can see it in action with my work. So
That's beautiful, Namratha. So let's talk a little bit about. I know we touched a little bit on spirituality when I asked you about spiritual coaching, but tell me, or rather, tell us, how do you ground yourself? Like, what does spirituality mean to you? What are the things that you do in your everyday life to ground yourself in spirituality?
that's a very layered question, beautiful question. Um, so before I start, I just want to say spirituality and religion are two different things. Religion is very systemic. Spirituality is, again, very flowy. It doesn't matter where you get what you need. Spirituality is the answers to your questions about the human condition. We all have the same questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Is there more out there? Why did certain things happen in my life the way they did? What am I learning from it? Am I learning anything? Am I wrong? There are many times you sort of judge yourself. Am I the one who's wrong? And if you are wrong, how to correct yourself? All of those questions get answered when you look towards spirituality. And there is no set way of spirituality. That's the beauty of it. You can find answers in anything. It could be Kabbalah, it could be, like, it could be, just travel, it could be spiritual circles, plant medicine, it could be anything. It does not matter. Wherever you feel that you're safe, comfortable, you belong, and you are able to connect. When I say connect, we call it the divine, but it is also your highest vibration or the highest frequency. The moment you start doing that, you start shifting timelines, and that's the spiritual aspect of it. For me, it was travel. So travel, earlier it was the fear, and when I got over the fear is when, because I was answering questions, or I was trying to find answers to the questions I had. Why did my life turn out this way? Or what did I do? Why was I born in Bihar? And spirituality teaches you that apparently my soul chose to be born in that place for a certain reason. And now you start finding those reasons. So now you have a focus. And that's what spirituality means to me. That's how I ground myself. So travel is very grounding for me. Talking about travel is very grounding for me. Writing practice. So some people do yoga, some people do meditation. I do all of those as well as my writing practice. I'm very, very focused every morning for 1 hour. I write something. Some of it is public, some of it is my own. But I do write, because what happens is things get out, and your words are your intentions, and those intentions go out in the universe, time, space, and things come back. The quantum entanglement. It's called the butterfly effect. So once you have changed yourself, is when you start changing, activating humans around you. And I think that's the beauty of spirituality, that once you have sort of found that connection, you can help others do that. And it's that's the community. Very different from how religion works. Religion is so, I feel it's so dogmatic, so closed. Yours is better than mine, or mine is better than yours. That's not how this works. Like, spirituality is for everybody, and however you find your answers, and once you find them, teach them to others. That's how this rolls.
Yeah, no, that was a beautiful answer that you shared with us, Namratha, because again, it's a very special, unique journey that you make on your own. And what comes out of it is beautiful to each person in their own story and their own life. And it's nice that for you, you've taken the time and the effort to go through this journey and something beautiful that's come out of it. And I think people will really be inspired by all the things that you've shared today. So I'm going to touch on the last final question for you. Tell us, Namratha, what is the truth you want to leave behind in the world?
I call it my legacy. My legacy is that humans are divine. And that's the truth I want to leave behind, that all humans are divine. Nobody's less, nobody's more. And everybody's divinity is something for them to find out. And don't let anybody tell you that you are less, because you are not less. Like everybody has a gift. And even if there are hierarchical systems, you need to feel whole within yourself. And that's the truth, that every human has divinity, and they just need to get connected with that divinity. And once you get connected, there's nothing that can stop you. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. I actually wanted to, before we got on this conversation, I was really excited. I love what you were wearing, and I think your T-shirt, I think it's covered. It says "You Matter," and that's a very beautiful way to tell
You are
someone.
matter and you matter.
Right. Yeah, it's the most beautiful compliment you can give to anyone is to accept them in their own divinity. And I think you beautifully conveyed that in the conversation today. And tell us, Namrata, how can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
So the easiest way to connect is you can join my community, or you can at least check it out. It's nas.io/humanists, the humanists. And I have sent you the link. You can, put it in the thing. This is a hub of everything that I do. So if it is writing or writing courses or leadership courses or even political acumen courses, I do a lot of guides, talks, podcasts, everything will be here. So everything to know about me, my socials, everything will be in this hub. The easiest way to get to know me and connect with me is through the NAS.io, the humanists.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll take that link and I'll share it in the description box so people can use that to reach out to you if they have any questions. And, I want to conclude this session by thanking you again for making that time and space for us to explore this conversation and even just showing up the way you do. And you really do embody a lot of things that we talked about, very authentic and very inspiring. And also, thank you for the opportunity to me to be, able to do this. This is my first podcast with you, so I want to thank you for being my first guest in the show. And I want to close the session. Again, I want to give gratitude for all the beautiful conversations that came out of this and allow all of this to reach the right people that need to hear this. And with this, I want to allow the perfect unfoldment of the reality. And as we always say, so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Poonam. Just the last words. I think this is going to be beautiful. I can already see where this is going, and I think we were connected for a reason. So like they say in spiritual circles, it's already what's meant to be will always happen, and I think this is meant to be. So this should go forward. People should definitely listen to it and take what resonates with them. And I think that's the space we open up. You have already opened up a very comfortable, calm space for people to be themselves, be safe. And I think that's what's important. We need to build those spaces, those communities where people feel safe to be themselves and just, connect with the divinity. So thank you, Poonam, for having me.
So with this, we conclude our podcast. I'm going to stop the recording.